I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 4th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price with no BS, end of story. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri, right on I-44 there. They're going to be starting a late start for them, 7 o'clock in the morning here for Monday in the regular feeder cattle auction. They're expecting around 5,000 head. They had some nice rain around that area, so they're not sure if that's going to hold some of the cattle up or not. They are expecting several loads of yearlings if you're looking for that. They haven't been getting very many balling calves at Joplin. They have kind of told their producers that they're so much better off if they can wean those cattle, hold them back, save them for some of these wean back specials that they have coming up and things like that. But that they will have a nice offering there and a light sale for Joplin, be a big sale for anybody else. And like I said, they're expecting about 5,000 head there. Don't forget, coming up on Thursday. Now it's normally on Wednesday after the regular cow sale. But this month it's going to be on Thursday, this coming Thursday here. They're having a special cow sale, and it's still going to be at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's just not on regular Wednesday. But they've got several big consignments of running aged, mostly black top quality cows there, and some pairs. They've also got several breeding bulls there from local seed stock producers. So check that out this Thursday, the 7th, and also on Thursday earlier in the day at 1 o'clock p.m. they're going to be having one of their primetime livestock videos there at the barn. So there'll be lots of loads of yearlings and probably some calves on there too. So check them out. All their sales are on DVAuction.com, and you can view and bid those sales. $1 Million Baby. I mean, the good Lord told Mother Nature to provide us in the central part of the country with some beneficial rain, and oh my God, did she do it. It was wonderful. People were just so relieved. Everybody's uptight about this election, and we're nervous about it and hoping things go our way, but it's just been so dry around too. It's been stressing people out quite a bit, and it's kind of late in the fall to be getting it, but we're still glad to get it. It's going to settle the dust in some of these backgrounding lots trying to straighten up these sick calves. It's going to be beneficial still for some of the lower parts of the Midwest that haven't gone completely dormant yet, and they have cool season grasses, because it's going to help stockpile some of that for the winter time. But the main thing it's going to do is it was just what the doctor ordered for this hard red winter wheat. I mean, they have got to have some grazing out there. Most of your wheat pasture grazers now, or wheat pasture farmers, they don't even plant varieties that make crops anymore. It's just for grazing. Those wheat pastures are so much more valuable to put pounds on cattle than it is to make a crop. Now, you do see a lot of the guys that and mostly the guys that irrigate, making crops, and they can make so much more yield on that irrigated ground. So that's better for them. But I tell you what, for the ones that are just going for wheat pasture grazing there, when they don't get any moisture in the fall like they haven't up until this past weekend, I mean, they're up against it. I mean, they can just kind of maybe hope for some winter moisture and then maybe cut some hay off of it later. But tell you what, this time we saw great rains, 2 inches plus, nothing too damaging. Now, they did have some tornadoes around Oklahoma there, and we hope that nobody gets hurt too bad or for sure killed in some of those. I did hear of some property damage in some of the tornadoes that were sparked from this weather front that come across. But man, saw places in eastern New Mexico, the whole Texas Panhandle for the most part got a good rain there. Talked to guys got 2.5 inches better, and I'm talking about places, out of the way places, lonely places where there's a lot of wheat pasture out there and a lot of ranch land out there, and I'm talking real Texas. I'm not talking about Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston or San Antonio, but real Texas got some good rains. West Texas got some good rains there, and then it went all across Oklahoma. Oklahoma got wet. I was at the Heritage Place racehorse sales over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We sold more horses online than we ever have at Heritage Place, and we're starting to see that more and more in our regular commercial cattle auctions too. Of course, it's always been a big deal in our seed stock sales and our production sales, getting a lot sold online, but we're just starting to see more and more of that happen in our commercial sales, and now on this racehorse sale that we sold a lot of horses online. But was there at that in Oklahoma City, and man, it was raining. We thought we'd missed it. Didn't really get anything on Friday, and then Saturday, I mean, we were putting up and getting out of there. It was pouring, absolutely pouring, and then headed south out of there to do some work later this week in Central Texas. But going down from Oklahoma City straight south down there through lower Oklahoma, absolutely pouring. I don't think it was so hard that it was damaging to anything, but it's just some really, really good beneficial rainfall. It kind of played out. We got into North Texas, but then Sunday morning, as I stopped at Fort Worth Stockyards, which is always fun, on Sunday morning, it was raining pretty good in North Texas. And so it didn't get as much rainfall in Central Texas that really, really needs it too. But still, it was wet around. But that rain went up into Kansas. It was up in the Midwest. And most everybody's pretty much done with harvest now, so they weren't cussing the rain, slowing them down for that. But just a wonderful, wonderful rain, and you talk about beneficial. And I said $1 million, baby. I mean, it's going to be multi-million or hundreds of millions of dollars of value there for grazing and forage for these cattle. I tell you what, it was a lifesaver. We absolutely needed it. Could not wait any longer for it, and it was provided for us. So thank God for that. It was wonderful. This is going to be a pivotal week as we start this week. I could not tell you what I think is going to happen on these high volume Monday sales. I would guess that they're probably going to be mostly steady to weak. We had some pressure late last week, where the last several weeks we'd been running. The late week was coming up, and we had some of our best prices on feeders and on fat cattle and everything late in the week, but not this past week. This past week we saw pressure from the board. They're saying that it's under technical pressure now, so we kind of feel like we're on shaky ground there. Your fat cattle were selling weaker late in the week on the finish up sales than we saw sell middle of the week. Just some pressure out there, guys. Of course, the fancy calves and the grass yearlings, a few that are out there, and even some backgrounded yearlings selling really, really well. I mean, competition in a competitive auction, it's hard to kill that demand and that drive. And so they were still selling well. We have so many of our premium type fancy calf sales up in the northern plains that happened later in the week. They were good once again. But our trends on our calves and feeders are a little bit up and down. And it has so much to do with the condition, with the quality, with what they've had done to them. Of course, if the calves are weaned, what shots they've had, when they had the shots, the look of the calves, and it's just and then that just runs the gamut from severe discounts to big premiums, and that's where your buyers kind of separate themselves from the men from the boys. If they can do a good job buying some calves, and they're wanting to go back and buy those reputation cattle that haven't got sick in the past, they're hoping they won't get sick this time, and so it's just been a pretty up and down, kind of a pivotal type week as we end last week, start in this week. And we went 7 weeks on our higher fat cattle, and we've kind of lost that. Now it's settled in a little bit lower, not a lot lower, mostly steady to just a touch lower. Box beef cutout values were lower after gaining ground there for several weeks in a row. So we think maybe the rally's over on that for now. But like I say, very pivotal right now as we start a new week here. Let's talk about your board for last week. December live cattle futures, Monday was up 12 cents, Tuesday down $1.32, Wednesday down 1.52, Thursday down 12 cents, Friday down 37 cents, and then that was the spot market. So it's kind of up and down there. But your December live cattle futures ended the week at 185.92. That was $3.23 lower. That was a lot more lower than what your cash fat cattle were lower. But February, as we start talking about it now because we lost our October contracts last week, February ended the week at 186.90. November feeder cattle, Monday was up 62, Tuesday down 260, Wednesday down $1.10, Thursday down 12 cents, Friday back up $1.50. And when we lost that October, it lined up with your CME cash feeder cattle index like it always does. But your November spot now for feeder cattle ended the week at 246.87. That was down $1.70 for the week. January feeder cattle ended the week $2.42 lower at 243.20. And I know guys would like to see those back months jump up there with some big gains here a day or two this week so they could get some LRPs on them. But let's talk about your grains. December corn ended the week at 414.5. That was down 3/4 cent a bushel. Not too much change there. November beans ended the week at 982.5, down 5 1/4 cent a bushel. December hard red winter wheat was also down 5 1/4 cent a bushel at 566 3/4. Now your fat cattle trade brought to you by Legacy Beef Cooperative. Through Thursday of last week, we had sold 68,200 negotiated cash in your 5-area feeding region. That was steady to a little bit lower. Your live sales ranged from 187 to 191 negotiated cash in the 5-area. That was steady to $1 lower on the spread. Your weighted average on live steers was 189.82. That was steady to weak. It was actually about 20 cents lower, or maybe a quarter lower. So we're not sure, and that's not the final weighted average for the week. I'll give you that on our next visit. But dress sales ranged from 296 to 304. That was steady to 2 lower. Your weighted average on dress steers 297 smooth. That's about $2 lower on your dress trade in the Northern Plains. But as a whole, your Southern Plains sold steady at 190 all week long. Northern Plains from 188 to 191. That was kind of $1 to $2 lower. And like I mentioned, your dress trade 296 to 298. And that was a couple bucks lower there. Friday we had a little bit more trade, but not a lot, and not quite as good as what we'd seen a little bit earlier in the week. Iowa sold 450 head on Friday, 34,100 for the week. Live price on Friday in Iowa 190, dress trade 296, and that was weaker. Nebraska 400 head on Friday, 24,300 for the week, and only dress trade at 296. Kansas sold 600 head, 9,300 for the week, which is pretty good for them. Negotiated cash at 190 again on Friday. So they held their mark in Kansas, and supposedly we're a little bit tighter on market ready cattle in Kansas than anywhere else. And they were buying cattle in the Northern Plains and shipping them to Kansas to keep from having to raise the price in Kansas. They'd rather pay $3 or $4 or $5 freight than take a chance on raising the price $1 in one of your 5 major areas there. But Texas did not have any confirmed sales on Friday. Only had 2,100 for the week. Used to say in the Amarillo airport, they had a sign there that said 33% of America's fed beef comes within 100 miles of Amarillo, Texas. I don't think it's quite that much anymore, but there's still a lot. And they only sold 2,100 head of fat cattle in a negotiated cash format. That's pitiful, guys. We don't even know what the market is. Talk about box beef cutout values. Your weighted average on all of last week's sales on choice cuts down 283 compared to the previous week's weighted average at $319.50, and your late Friday afternoon sales were about more than $3 lower than that at $316.34. Now your selects were down more. Your select weighted average was $288.37. That was down $687 compared to the previous week's weighted average. And your late Friday sales were $3.35 lower than that at $285.03. So we saw some losses on wholesale beef prices. They continued later in the week, but the bulk was a little better than that. Your choice select spread on your weighted average was just over $31. Which we expect that to be wide when they're doing holiday buying, because they only want the higher quality stuff for the most part. All of that based on 694 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings as reported on the spot market. Let's talk about your slaughter. It wasn't bad. Not as heavy as the previous week, and not nearly as heavy as the same week a year ago, but still over 600,000. 615,000 last week. Estimated cattle slaughter, that was 8,000 less than the previous week, 21,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Tell you what, we are celebrating 10 years of the Feeder Flash, the 10-year anniversary here. We wanted to do something fun. We wanted to involve our sponsors. We wanted to involve our viewers. So we're going to have some fun contests here every day this week. We are going to feature one of our major sponsors, and we're going to ask a question to our viewers where they can go to their website and look up the answer. Send that answer to feederflash@nationalbeefwire.com. Just send us a simple email there to feederflash@nationalbeefwire.com, and be sure and enter in. You can put the answer there. Make sure you include your name and address. So if you win, you can get the swag bag. Now we're going to give away swag bags every day this week, but for the Monday contest here, which is sponsored by Macrocin by Mita, of course, they're going to include a $300 gift card to Cavender's Boot City. So and Cavender's is also a customer of ours on their production sales, so they raise cattle there. But the question for the Feeder Flash 10-year anniversary contest for Monday is, what common ailments in cattle is Macrocin approved for? So I'm always advertising Macrocin by Mita. It's a tulathromycin injection. It's a more affordable alternative to Draxxin. But what common ailments in cattle is Macrocin approved for? So you can get on, find that answer, send that answer in an email to feederflash@nationalbeefwire.com. Make sure and include your name and address. You can win the swag bag, which is all of these auctions that are participating in this, and there's a ton of them. You're going to get something from every one of them. Dropping regional stockyards, of course. Northeast Georgia Livestock, our friends over there. Olean Livestock Market in Missouri. Volunteer Stockyards in Tennessee. St. Ange Livestock in South Dakota. Flint Hills Stockyards in Kansas. Santa Teresa Livestock Auction down on the border in New Mexico. Ogallala Livestock Auction in Nebraska. Crawford Livestock Market in Nebraska. F&T Livestock Market in Northeast Missouri. Creston Livestock in South Central Iowa, and Unionville in North Central Missouri, and Pruitt's Mid-State Stockyards there. All of them there's going to be something included in there, which is kind of cool. I mean, get some kind of swag from all those markets all over the country. Going to send all this stuff to you, plus the $300 gift card to Cavender's. But we're excited to have 10 years of the Feeder Flash. It's been almost 2,400 episodes, over 20 million views. I've got 186,000 recipients that get it through our newsletter. We're almost to 19,000 subscribers on YouTube. We'd like to see how close we can get to 20,000 by the end of the year. So if you watch this on YouTube, just reach down there and hit that subscribe button. It's not going to really change anything other than make this pop up a little bit quicker whenever you open your YouTube. But we'd like to get some more subscribers, like to get close to that 20,000 if we can. But just kind of excited about 10 years of the feeder flash. Time flies when you're having fun, guys. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. Sitting at 250.16 at the end of last week. That was $1.98 higher than the end of the previous week. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index ended the week at 250.98. Now, your feeder trends in your sales last week were on, and that's on feeder cattle going right into the feedlot, big calves, backgrounded yearlings, grass yearlings, everything combined were unevenly steady to $5 higher. And we saw that in your bigger sales, and that's kind of indicative of your index, real-time index value there. Now, calves, which is what we're seeing the most of, wildly uneven. I mean, everywhere. Northern plains, southern plains, all over the Midwest. We're seeing a lot of calves, and it's just, you can't tell the trend from one place to the other. Later in the week in Kansas, of course, they knew this, or they was hoping this rain was coming. We saw our calves selling sharply higher in Kansas auctions. Now, since this rain come through, I'm expecting these lightweight calves to hit the roof. I mean, people have been waiting, holding off buying their light stalkers because they didn't know if they're going to have any wheat or not. Now they're all going to be wanting some. And so I expect them to be higher. But man, we're seeing everything from severe discounts to our fleshy ballers to sharply higher prices on some ballers that's got 2 rounds of shots and 1 iron and a lot of them. And then, of course, wean calves. We're starting to see more wean calves show up every day. And they're sure bringing a premium, especially if they've got some quality with them. But just a wild calf market. Let's talk about some big sales late last week and over the weekend. How about Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota? They had about 9,000 head on Friday, one of their big specials, and they had a lot of yearlings. It wasn't just calves. They had a lot of yearlings there. The Federal State Market News reporter there kind of had it up and down from $6 lower to $4 higher, but mostly steady for the most part. But good market throughout. A stickout sale I saw in Fort Pierre was 83 steer calves, weighed 622 and bring 315.50. That'd be pretty high, guys. How about St. Ange Livestock? St. Ange, South Dakota. Justin Tupper and family run that sale barn. Had 5,650 head on Friday there. And it was mostly calves. That's what they get this time of year. Lots of them. Be lots of fancy ranch calves coming out of that western South Dakota. But calves were mostly higher, except for 5 weights, and they were some lower. We've seen a lot of 5 weight sell. Maybe they filled the orders for a lot of those 5 weights, but the other weights were mostly higher. A stick out string of calves that I saw out of St. Ange that's worth mentioning was 240 steer calves, weigh 446 and bring 375. Wow. How about some other quotes from all over? How about Bloomington Livestock Exchange in Bloomington, Wisconsin? They sell 65 steers, weighed 847 at 260, 250. How about Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota? On Friday, they sell 52 steers, weighed 614 at 319. Oh my goodness. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week and over the weekend, and I didn't get these quotes until later on Thursday, so I didn't have them in your Friday report, and I don't know where else you could find them because they're not reported anywhere. They're not even broadcast on the internet, but it come from the Fairview, Illinois sale barn. My buddy Brian Curlis, world champion auctioneer, sells there, and he shares some of these quotes with me. It's your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day. Rex McClure sells his backgrounded cattle in there. He had 4 loads of steers, weighed 936 and bring 250, 275 on the average. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.